Very good. All right. Well, we're going to move on then. We're going to finish up with a call-in segment, Shit You Hear in the Office. And this is one of our newer segments that we have on the show. And basically, from time to time, when you're working in an office, you hear a pretty crazy story. So the one time, I was in an office, we decided to have an office question in which it was hypothetical. And the question was, if all 4-year-olds went crazy and you had to take out 4-year-olds, how many could you take out in an hour?
Oh,
Which is a crazy, morbid thought, right? And so at the time, my son was 4. So, that's my only really point of reference there is my son. So I couldn't do that. So I really copped out in terms of that discussion in the office. Fast forward, several years. I had this child at my house who drove me absolutely crazy, just got under my skin, was here all day, and I could not wait for this child to leave my house, kind of thing. So I called up. The next day, I called up the guy that posed the question in the office, and I said, my answer's 32. Because I said I can picture this child, and now I can take out 32 4-year-olds. So that was it's just like an odd situation, an odd office story that I have. So we have a couple callers on the line. Did you want to comment on that? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead, Jason.
Okay. So we have a couple callers on the line, and they're going to tell us about some crazy shit that they heard in the office. First on the line is Allison. Allison, what's some shit that you heard in the office?
Oh, man, I heard a lot of shit in the office. But one thing that did stick out, going through some reports, we had a complainant that looked like to be a familiar name. And lo and behold, it was one of our officers. And as I'm reading the 2 line of the report, somebody had stolen his recipe for his bread. This officer liked to bake on the side, and when he wasn't at work, he was at home baking, and somebody stole his beloved recipe for the bread that everybody liked, and it made it all the way to get a CC number and file a complaint. That was quite an interesting one.
That's funny. I think of, what was it, the lady that was outside of McDonald's that called 911 because they wouldn't give her a Whopper. I wouldn't give her a Big Mac, That's what I'm thinking of. Like, are you seriously, you're going to fill out a complaint over a stolen recipe?
It's a quality of life issue, Jason. I am here for this. It is a throwback to a time when family recipes were sacred. I think we need to do an all-out investigation on this incident.
We should have asked her, like, what was the final ruling of it? Was there arrest made, or is this still an open investigation?
Throw away the key.
Oh, man. Especially if it was inside the office. That would be certainly crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Next on the line is Eric. Eric, what's some shit that you heard in the office?
I once heard a dispatcher explain a 911 call saying that the same woman called every night in the summer to complain about the noise of her neighbor's air conditioning.
Man, that's just another one. Just every night being called about the neighbor's air conditioning. What are you going to do about that? Because that's not breaking any laws. There's certainly noise ordinances in every community, but probably that air conditioner wasn't extremely loud to where the police could really do anything about. So it's just totally frivolous, especially to do it every night.
Absolutely. I wonder if a personal visit would solve that, or if that was tried and the calls continued.
Oh, man, especially they said it, like all summer. So it's like, at what point are you gonna do this? She's gonna become her own pop project. How do you get this woman to quit calling? Basically, to have a whole pop project on it. So that would be funny. All right. Next on the line is Jim. Jim, what's some shit that you heard in the office?
Well, we got into this crazy discussion about 6 months ago about umami. So I love to cook, and I just innocently mentioned umami. And I thought that people knew what umami was, but apparently not. These guys are looking at me like I have 3 heads. So I'm trying to explain to them about, the 5 tastes. You've got sweet and sour and bitter and salty, and then there's umami. And then I was kind of giving them examples, mushrooms are umami, miso, other fermented things have the umami, and they just weren't getting it. So I'm like, you know what? MSG is the quintessential umami flavor. So I brought in some MSG from home, And I was having everybody try it, and everybody, it's like we had this line of Coke out in the office and everybody's kind of getting their little bit of it. And, everybody's like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this, whatever. And so it just turned into this big discussion about what umami was and how you find it and what has it and what doesn't. And me trying to explain it to them, it's sort of like, it's like thinking of a new color, right? When you have to explain something and it's kind of difficult to get people to understand what you're saying. I thought if I just showed them that would work. So to this day, they all give me shit about umami because they still don't quite grasp what it is exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if I just misremembered or was never taught, but I don't think I realized that was the fifth taste.
No, I Googled it while he was talking. I think he presents it as everyone else at his work is in the wrong for not knowing it, but I think maybe he's got that backwards.
It is fascinating. It does remind me of you either just trying something or you hear something on the internet and you do it. There was a couple years ago, it was the color of the dress, where people were looking at it and saying that it was just total vast answers about what the color of the dress were, and it just kind of totally took over the whole entire office that particular day. And that seems like a similar situation. The MSG gets put in, there's just this line of people trying it and deciding that they don't like it. But I could understand like that just totally taking over and being a crazy story. All right, next on the line is Chris. What is your shit that you heard in the office?
I once heard a story from a former law enforcement officer how he spent time out in the hills of a Kentucky area. He said back in maybe the late 70s, early 80s, he busted a lesbian commune that was one of the largest pot growers in all of the East Coast.
I mean, how else are you gonna make a living in a commune in the middle of Kentucky?
Wow. I'm going to play the if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all card.
So you get that visual in your head though, right? I get that visual of a bunch of women in the creek washing clothes, just planting and growing marijuana on the side. Kudos for them for creating such a big market. All right. So last but not least, Jessica, what's some shit that you heard in the office?
Well, we had a deputy one time suggest that our dips, which we call drunken publics, they don't have a substance abuse problem. They are carbo loading to stay warm during the winter. That is a true story. Those are the words, and this deputy was dead serious when they said it.
That
Silver
is
lining.
Yeah, right. I mean, alcohol does keep you warm, and if it's super chilly outside, then yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I see the logic. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly can understand that. So that shit you heard in the office,